Have you heard this one? John Paul II, Thomas Aquinas, and an investment banker walk into a bar. I don't know what happens next, but I do know that there are questions to be asked about the church and money, and we're going to be diving into those. Stay tuned to hear more.
Almost a year ago now, I did a poll on Instagram asking people their questions about Catholicism and money. Not quite sure what the response was going to be. You see, Jonathan and I, we are Catholic. And when we launched Wallet Win back in late 2017, we, of course, had our worldview influence what we taught. But what we taught was never explicitly Catholic, in the sense that it wasn't called Catholic Money Course.
Yes.
It was a money course, and there were elements of our Catholic faith brought into that. And people have seemed to just be asking for more on that. So when I did this poll, I was kind of looking for, all right, are people really wanting to dive into that perspective? Or is what we're doing right now kind of enough, for a lack of a better word?
Sure.
And the response floored me. People were hungry to know so much more. And we were excited about that because this meant we can now dive into this and unpack these things that we haven't gotten to unpack in the last few years. And so we're going to do a Catholicism and money series. Now, that was almost a year ago now.
we thought it would be, this would be great. There's so much, right? So many topics. When you start thinking, I wonder, what does the church teach about this? And you start diving in, you realize you're not in the kiddie pool anymore.
She's got a lot to say
It
about
goes
a lot of things.
deep. So there's, there's a lot here. And we were, at least I know I was, a little paralyzed because I thought, all right, I mean, people, they want to know this stuff. They're looking for us to share this. And I feel like I have to know absolutely everything, front and back, up and down, inside and out, before I can present any of it. Because I don't know what I could say this, but then the next thing I read, I'm gonna know more about it, or I'm gonna
this saint talked about it this way.
Oh yeah, there's just so much.
But then and what about when you bring up this vice and this virtue, and you talk about this philosophical situation, and does it change, and so many things to think through. And I'm glad we decided not to let the paralyzation of over 2,000 years of riches and wisdom, stop us from moving forward.
Yes.
We kind of had a conversation a couple of months ago. We knew that we weren't going to roll this out immediately. We wanted to marinate on it. We had a few other projects going on, and we homeschool, and we have 3 children, 7 and under. So things are a little bit of a snail pace around here sometimes. But that's a choice. It's a conscious choice to not be sprinting around at neck break speed. And you guys don't want that from us, and we don't want to show up in that way. So we knew this was going to take time. But we were beginning to run into these mental roadblocks of, oh no, I haven't done a doctoral thesis on this. So I can't even talk, even though we know much and we've learned much in the last 10 years of living this out. So we thought, no, we got to at least get started with this Catholicism and money series.
Yes.
There's too much good that we can begin unpacking that you guys want to learn about. And we want to share that with you. And it's the ultimate pride to think that we're going to show up having arrived and be these all-time experts at, on this topic. I don't know if anyone can claim that. All of us are in process and continuing to learn until the other side. Then that more of that veil is taken away and the fullness of wisdom comes. So with all that said, we're diving in.
Yes, and we want you to come along with us as we dive in. We're opening up this process. We want to bring you along as we go through this. So we're gonna, and here in a second, I think, at least I'm planning on doing this, talking about a couple of the things I'm looking forward to looking into, but I want to also hear from you guys. So If you're on Spotify, if you're listening on Spotify, I think you'll see some sort of a question or something. You can just type it in there and send it to us. Otherwise, there's a link in the show notes. You can leave us a voicemail with your ideas or questions. You can send us an email at email@walletwin.com and share with us there. So we want to just open this up and invite you to come along with us. We, in some ways, if you have some question, let us know. We can be, in a way, like your research librarians when it comes to the faith and money. So I know, right, we've got Rerum Novarum. It's an encyclical written by Pope Leo XIII. So that one's going to be a goodie. Talks a lot about labor.
There's so many goodies.
There's Gaudium et Spes from Vatican II, one of the four main constitutions. And there's a whole section on society and economy and money and things like that. Mm-hmm. I know there's that. Of course, we're going to be diving into some bits and pieces of Scripture and some parables and a lot of things there.
There's the Catechism.
Of course.
And then there's also just the lived experience of the different lives of the saints. Mm-hmm. And I think that one is going to be really exciting to me personally. I always like to see truth embodied in the flesh. And we're going to see saints who handled money extremely differently, or were called to steward it extremely differently in their lives, but each of them got to heaven. So what was going on there? What were those kind of common themes? Even though one had a great deal of wealth under their care and the other vowed to a life of poverty. What was that relationship with money that each of them possessed that led to it being healthy and led to them being a saint?
You know what that makes me think of?
What?
Coloring books.
Why is that?
I was just upstairs right before we started recording this. I was upstairs with one of our daughters coloring in a coloring book. Mm-hmm. And it had a page that had this little cartoon cat on it. You could color her in. And then it was blank all around her. And you got to fill in the rest of the picture. Right? They gave you the lines of the cat. You could color her however you want. And then you can draw, maybe she's in space. Maybe she's on a farm. Maybe she's underground. Who knows? Marshmallow Castle. I don't know. So it's up to you to do that. So the church, she gives us that coloring page. And there's a couple lines drawn on there, right? This is what everybody's got to do when we're handling money.
Yes.
But it's up to us not just to color that picture in, but also we get a chance to color around the lines too and see how that picture comes together. And that's what we're going to see, especially when we look at the lives of the saints. So when we look at things like encyclicals and Scripture and the Catechism and other pieces of church teaching, those are going to be the black lines on the white paper. And there's going to be some instruction too on how we should color that in. But there's options, there's choices. And then when we look at the lives of the saints, we're going to see all the different ways that picture was filled in the rest of the way.
That applied wisdom.
Yeah, mm-hmm. And you're going to go, wow, look, that's incredible. That's a totally different picture than this. But they're both cartoon cats. Mm-hmm. They're both Catholics living out truth. And in relation to money, totally in line with what the church teaches, very faithful, great stewards. But boy, those are different pictures, and they're both great. So we can examine those pictures and see what's the same, see the ways that they're different, and kind of a broader picture, zoom out a little bit more, and just see some of the main themes.
Mm-hmm. And really, this whole entire journey that we're about to go on, it dates way back to when Jonathan and we became debt-free in 2011, 2012, that 2011, 2012 time window was when we learned the skill of budgeting. We got out of debt. We built up emergency savings. I mean, we were on a roll during that time. And we wanted to do something. We wanted to lead something at our church. And so we actually began leading Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University. And I remember when we would lead this class, I would say it wasn't an overwhelming majority of the time, but there were about 4 to 5 times we had to kind of pause and maybe fill in the gap between what was said and then what the church actually teaches on this or has to offer on this, or if this is a cherry-picked verse that's taken out of context. We kind of fill in that information, and that's important to do so. And for a while, I kind of thought, well, those are the really the only differences between maybe what's taught in Financial Peace University and, the Catholic approach to money. But over the last, what are we at now? We're at 2022. So that's over a decade.
Yep.
So much more has come into clarity. Almost like, I couldn't see farther out because we weren't, the more we dove into this, the more it became clear that there wasn't just these things right here up in front of my face. There was tons of things on the periphery. And that's the stuff that we've been personally, in our own relationship with money, unpacking over the last, probably more seriously, 3 years. And so we're excited to kind of take the fruits of that contemplation and maybe some of the applied experience that we've been experiencing ourselves and the freedom that it's brought us and the peace and the joy that comes when bringing God deeper into your money and bringing him in, really being the Lord of your bank account, the Lord of your budget, whatever it is. And just, we want to bring you on that journey. Sorry, I got a little lost there in my thoughts. I get lost in my brain sometimes because my brain, I have one of those, it's a curse and a gift. It's like my brain can open up 6 tabs at once, but my mouth can only tell you about one of them. Curse and a blessing.
Yes. All of this is to dive in, to ask the question and to figure out what the answer is to how do we handle money. We will, of course, there'll probably be at least an episode on Rerum Novarum, but in there, Pope Leo XIII says, it is one thing to have the right to have money and something totally else to do with it whatever you want. It's a little bit of a paraphrase. A couple words might have been off. But the idea is, yes, private property is a good thing. It helps, we can get into that in an episode.
Are you actually starting the money series?
Woo!
Right now?
I'm just saying.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
What does that mean to have a right to have money? And then, okay, it's what else is there, right? To use it. How are we to use it? Those are the big questions that we're going to be diving into. And it's not a simple answer. I mean, it's in some ways there's an answer. But again, you go layer by layer by layer deeper into it, and you learn so much more, and it gets so rich. This is not chicken nuggets and ketchup.
No. This is like the best
grass-fed Wagyu fillets.
With like a creamy dill sauce that somebody churned in the back, fresh from the cow. That is the depth and the riches that the church has to offer us.
Yeah, so let us know, right? I mean, just kind of bringing up one idea. All right, we've got private property. We've got the use of money. We've got the nature of money. We've got Rerum Novarum. We've got a lot of topics just on this one idea. I want to know your ideas, your questions. What does the church say about this? What's the teaching on that? What should we do here? I want to know those because these are the questions that we're going to dive into. Those that you send in. So let us know. You can type it in if you're on Spotify, if that's what you want to do. You can use the link to send us a voicemail to ask it, just really easy, just talking to your phone. And then you can also send us an email at email@walletwin.com.
Yes. And I'm excited. We're not only going to be unpacking these topics by ourselves. When we can, we're going to be interviewing other people who are kind of in our space as well, or complementary in what they do. So expect to hear from Catholic investment advisors, different finance professionals, maybe a Catholic lawyer will come into play. There's going to be people that we're going to be leaning on to fill in the gaps and have the conversations with so that it's more than just Jonathan and I and kind of rounding out that conversation for your benefit. So expect that. Expect some deep dives. Expect to be challenged. I'm gonna leave that there on the table right now. Things we're going to share are going to make you deeply uncomfortable. They're going to make you squirm. They're going to make you feel extremely convicted. and then they're going to call you forth into action. I know that every time we run into some of these truths that we've learned, that's exactly what it does to me, but it calls me to deeper conversion and helps me live that out more. But it's really hard. It's really hard, especially in, I was just talking at my women's group last night. We were reading the readings from yesterday. It was about the rich young man. And the conversation was, do you think that in modern day United States of America, most of us have probably more than the rich man even had in this gospel teaching? Oh my goodness. I don't know. I don't actually know that information, but it was interesting to toss out there. We have much, and it's about how do we handle it in a way that doesn't harm saying yes to God as fully as we can in our life.
Ooh, baby, let's do it. Again, if you've got questions, if you've got somebody you think we should talk to, let us know. You can type it in at Spotify, click the link for leaving us a voice message, or send us an email at email@walletwin.com. There'll also be a link in the show notes for that as well. But I'm excited to go on this journey and to have you come along with us.
See you in the first session.